everybody, I'm Casey Gillespie, team president and team market owner here with the Columbus Wizards. I have the pleasure of introducing our brand new head coach for the upcoming 2026 spring TBL season. He comes with a historic record. He has over 40 years of coaching, 36 years spent at one Grandview High School, and I'd love to introduce you guys to Mr. Ray Corbett.
Thank you, Case.
So we did ask a couple people, we asked on social media for some questions that our audience and fan base wanted to ask you. And so I'm going to start off with, let's take it back. Where did you start your coaching journey?
We're going to go back to, if we go back to grassroots, I started Little League Baseball. When I was, after my senior year, I went to Bishop Reedy and I coached over at St. Mary Magdalene, which is the, as other people know, the cradle of all coaches in Central Ohio. And so I worked there for a summer. So I got the itch a little bit. My brother, one of my older brothers, was a baseball coach at Father Worley, and he sort of steered me into that when I went to the Ohio State University, which it wasn't called that back then. It was just Ohio State. So student taught at Worley. My brother got me in there to student teach down there, and called me up during the summer and said, "Hey, guess what? You've got a job this fall." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, we need a defensive back for football, a defensive back coach for football." And I go, "Dale, I stopped playing football in the 8th grade. What am I doing coaching defensive football at all?" He goes, "We'll teach you. You just get here." So I gave up the job that I had worked for 3 years at while I was going through Ohio State, and got into that. Then that winter I was an assistant freshman basketball coach and then an assistant freshman baseball coach at Worley. Next year, go to Jonathan Orr. So I graduated, went to JA, football and basketball, JV basketball coach. From there, back to Worley. And this is before Worley was Worley. Worley became a state power, actually maybe even considered a national power. But I was there in our last 3 years. We made it. I was the JV coach. We made it to the state Final Four our last 3 years. Won it the third at Dayton, and the next year I was at Bishop Reed, back to my high school graduation class there.
The alma mater.
Yeah, I went back, coached there for a year, and then slid over to Grandview. Larry Larson called me, Mr. High School Sports. And I coached there for 36 years as a head boys basketball coach.
What a resume.
Well, you don't think about resumes when you're doing that. There are a couple guys I used to joke with that, when I first started at Grandview, I said, I better have a good year this year because the next two don't look very good. And one good will get you three. That was my philosophy. So I was trying to just keep my head above board there and try to win just enough to keep people happy. And then all of a sudden, we started building on top of it, and we'd have maybe 2 years. And we had a couple really nice runs. We had phenomenal kids. Grandview is one of the greatest places. I think it's a hidden gem. People don't know about it. The school's phenomenal. The athletics, kids get an opportunity to play everything, every sport imaginable. They can get in plays. They can do all kinds of stuff. It's like a private school.
Yeah, I have some friends. In fact, my high school coach, his daughters actually attended Grandview, and so when there were some negotiations and we were going back and forth with you, I kind of asked them about you, and they gave glowing reviews.
Wow.
And talked about how great.
Must not have talked to everybody.
Talked about how great of a person you were, and one name that came up was Mr. Lachey, and how he was kind of like a big figure there at Grandview during his time.
Oh, you're talking about Lukey there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had all 5 of the Lachays in class.
Wow.
So we had 3 daughters. They were the oldest, and there was James. And James went on to BG, played a little football up there before medical reasons got him out. But James played basketball for me as well. And that's the one thing about the Lachay family is they wanted, again, a perfect example of Grandview. They wanted their kids to play more than one sport. Those kids played 3. And Lukey was just that way. Lukey came up, he was the youngest, and he loved basketball. And that's what he wanted all the way through to about his junior year in high school.
And
he broke my heart when he said, "Coach, I'm getting offers from these big schools in football, he was able to get him. He got an offer from Bowling Green his junior year. We lost up there in the regional semis, and he was offered that evening.
Wow.
He could have played. I mean, now, how many 6'6" basketball players are there in the world? There's millions.
Yes, sir.
How many 6'6" tight ends that can put change on the backboard?
No.
Have phenomenal hands. Now he's playing, hopefully, for Texas.
I was pretty excited to see. I didn't know anything about him until obviously they came to play Ohio State, and they talked about how he was related to Jim Lachey and et cetera, et cetera. So just getting to hear them explain about him, and then obviously the full circuit moment with you coming to coach, it's kind of crazy how things happen.
Well, he as well as his family, and it's sort of typical of Grandview. Just tremendous people there.
So coming up through the ranks as you were kind of navigating your coaching career, who were some of like your biggest influences?
Well, I mentioned my brother Dale. He kept me involved in it because there was a number of opportunities or a number of times I thought about getting out of it. And not just as a student. It wasn't like I loved going to Ohio State. It wasn't like the funnest 4 years of my life. I was working 30 hours a week. I'm not trying to uphill both ways, but still, it wasn't a great lifestyle for me, living at home and such. But but he kept me going there. Then outside sources of the family, Gene Millard, the late Gene Millard. When I was an assistant at Worley, we had some phenomenal players. I mean, top of the chart players, kids who brought in national coaches to recruit.
Wow.
Jerry Francis, Elijah Brewster, Kevin Haddock, Dwayne Phillips, Lonnie Jones. I mean, we have guys who, Lonnie Jones, I came home one night and I coached him when he was a freshman. He walked into my gym and he was about 6'1" and just chiseled. And just a beautiful looking kid. He ended up being 6'4" point guard.
Wow.
Playing at Wyoming. And I saw him on ESPN that next year after he had graduated his freshman year. He's like the sixth man. And that's when Wyoming was Wyoming. They were good. Eli played at Ohio State. Eli brought in UNLV, Louisville. Every school in the country was there to wine and dine him. They loved him. He was one of the top, in my opinion, one of the top 2 or 3 high school athletes I've ever seen.
What moment made you realize that you were kind of ready to coach? I know you said you kind of navigated around there, but what moment kind of made it all click for you and you're like, okay, I could get pretty good at this?
I don't know. I really don't. I in terms of getting really good at this and that stuff, I came into it with the idea that, first of all, I love sports. In our family growing up, we competed and everything. I got 6 older brothers, and so, nothing was handed to me. You had to earn it. And that's all we did was play. We played baseball, football, and when we were playing football, we would play football before football practice. We didn't have the things that kids have today that keep them in the house. Back when I was growing up, we didn't have. So we were always out of the house and doing stuff. And so competition was what we did all the time. I don't care if you were on a bicycle, you had to be the first one, to get home. Yep. And so I enjoyed that. I'll be honest with you, I didn't enjoy coaching football. I did it 1 year at Grandview where I was the 8th grade junior high coach. That was somewhat enjoyable because I was running the offense and I had fun doing that.
Wow.
Yeah. You talk about blind leading to blind.
Oh boy.
It was ugly. But but basketball was my passion. Dale's passion was baseball. He played for Ohio State. I was like a bat boy when he was playing back then. For me, I wanted something different, and basketball was the different. And all my buddies, who are still all my buddies from high school, we were all together playing basketball. We played everything together. So, but basketball is number one.
That's awesome. I completely share that sentiment of being outside. Even me growing up, of course, I'm a little bit younger than you, but
just a tad.
Yeah, just a tad. But I can remember, almost being kicked out of the house until the streetlights come on. And today's culture is so much different, where kids are in the house, they're playing video games. I drive by parks that I remember going to, and it being 5-10 games deep. Now they're ghost towns. And so how has that changed for you as a coach? How have you seen that change the way you coach?
When I went to Reedy won the state my freshman to sophomore years. Okay, now I paid to get into the games, so it wasn't like I played on those teams, but the culture was the culture. All right, there were certain expectations, and if there was open gym, we were there. But more importantly, the group of guys I hung with, every night we were playing basketball somewhere. All right, we got in a car, went over to Marion Franklin Rec Center and played against Herbie Williams. We went to Bexley. We went to Arlington. We went out west, out to some of their outdoor courts. That's what we did, and we loved the game. We loved being around each other, and and then Westgate Park and Glenwood Park. I was down there my whole life, and I wanted to prove myself. So I wanted to go out there and prove myself on that court, to prove I could play with these guys and I could belong. So there you go. Now, how's that impact coaching in terms of today? I mean, how many kids do that? How many kids get in a carload instead of, hey, we've got, and I saw the change take place, okay? And a lot of it has to do, and I'm guilty of it, as are other coaches and parents. Our kids right now are so scheduled out that they don't have a moment to breathe. Every night, during the summer, every night, if you're an athlete, you're doing something. You're in the gym, you're in the weight room, you've got to have a trainer for this and that. And how much of an excitement, how much fun is that? I mean, I'll go back to the group that went to the Final Four. We were driving back, and again, I'm going back to '99. So this tells you how long ago, some 20 plus years. And my starting point guard, we drove by van, and we played out at Gahanna. We had just won the Gahanna Summer League against some really good teams, much larger than Grandview. We were a Division IV team. We played against Gahanna, DeSales,
wow,
Beechcroft, Tays Valley, and we won the league.
You're naming some big schools there.
Yeah, well, we were good. We were very good. Okay, I mean, that's how you get to the Final Four. But I had in that van, of the 8 kids in that van, 7 or 8 kids in that van, I bet you 6 of them were 2 and 3 sport kids. And here we are, June 28th, June 29th, something late June, and I hear a kid say, "Coach, what are we doing tomorrow?" And I said, "Guys, we're off. We're going to be off until the 5th. We'll come back after 4th of July." And this kid said, and he didn't mean for me to hear it, but he goes, "Tomorrow's going to be my first day off this summer." And that hit me hard, because I was like, what are we doing? Why is this happening? And and I was in the arms race, because if I didn't do it, London was doing it. Teams in my league were all doing it, putting this time in during the summer. And if I didn't, I was going to lose to them. And again, being a competitive person, I couldn't let that happen, right? So Ohio High School, in its infinite wisdom, limited the number of days you're allowed to have, but it's still questionable how enforced that is.
There are still ways to get around it, right?
Yeah.
As someone that I didn't play basketball in high school for various reasons. I didn't like the coach. I didn't know the system very well, so I didn't really feel comfortable. So I kind of just played in the city. I was the guy to get with my friends, and we'd go up to Ohio State campus and play over on the Lane Avenues, the Woodrows, and the 11th Avenue.
Did you ever play underneath the Ohio State football stadium?
No, but that court is relatively new, correct? Or has that been there a while? So I had recently just found out about it. I didn't even know that it existed.
There was underneath.
Oh, underneath
the horseshoe.
Never knew that existed.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So my senior year, we were going up there and playing, and there were 2 courts, full courts under the stadium, where they have concessions and such. You could walk into that. That's talk about the difference of life. You could walk into that stadium, and go in underneath and play hoops if you wanted to.
That would be really cool to experience.
Wasn't bad.
Now I know they have the court behind the horseshoe that was relatively new, and that's what I thought he was referring to. I never knew there were courts
That's back
underneath
when
the
they
horseshoe.
had Astro Rock as a field. AstroTurf.
It's well before my time.
Yeah. And my senior year, I used to run the stairs. That's how crazy it was. I would run the stairs to get prepared for the season. That's how, I was passionate about the game.
Wow. So you played?
A little.
Where did you play?
Reading.
Wow. Varsity?
When?
Well,
My senior year.
you made varsity your senior year?
I started my senior year. My junior year, let's see here. My freshman year, I didn't score. Okay? Sophomore year, I scored in 2 games, the last 2 games of the year. Junior year, I think I was getting close to the rotation, then I popped my ankle 2 weeks later, and we were wearing Chuck Taylors at the time. I know it's hard to believe with the great support we had with those shoes.
Man.
But I was out of the rotation and out for the season. And our coach asked whether or not I want to go down and play JVs instead of sitting. I said, no, I want to watch. I want to sit there. I want to observe and learn and try to practice against them. I got beat on like nobody's business every day in practice. This muscular body had to guard Bobby Cumberlander, Anthony Walker, Michael Curtis. These guys were thoroughbreds, just ponies, 6'4", 220s without any fat on them. And they pummeled me every day in practice my junior year. And my coach brought me in and basically said, you got to stop being a nice guy on the floor. You got to get a mean streak in you if you ever want to play. And so I beat a couple guys out and got to play.
So it's always cool to me when you hear about coaches and coaches that have been in the game a long time. Not every coach had a historic high school career and playing. So you not playing much and having those limited time on the actual floor, how did that kind of shape you for the game? Being on the sidelines,
Well,
kind of soaking all that
I
up?
don't know if I learned a whole lot about coaching, but I did understand what it was like to not play. And I always thought, you guys can't tell me something I don't already know when it came to that. I lived it. And so I always felt like I had a feel for that because it's easy when you're the pony. Everybody's following you, and you're the hero, and you're dating the homecoming queen and all that stuff, I wasn't that guy. And again, the only time I outscored anybody was we had a guy in my freshman year that scored in the wrong bucket against Jonathan Alder. And I was at 0 and he was at -2. So I felt pretty good that day.
That's awesome.
I didn't play at all. I mean, I thought I could really play, and I was getting ripped off. This guy didn't know me at all, and guess what? He was our JV coach the next year. So I had him back to back, and our high school coach left after that second year at Wyndham State, and there was a rumor that he was going to be the new head coach, and I was like, oh my Lord, I'm toast, I'm done. But he didn't, and I was the last. Back then we used to have a cut list. I'm going to talk about an experience.
Oh, yeah.
You see your name on that list, you're live. If you don't, you're gone. And there was 15 guys on that team my junior year. I was number 15. I should have gotten that for my jersey. I was number 15. So I didn't care. I was just happy to be there.
You were on the team.
That's right. And again, I didn't play a minute.
So if you look back on it now that you've had some coaching experience under your belt, would you have played you then?
Of course, I could shoot. No, I could shoot. I couldn't do anything else, which is ironic because all I ever did is complain about defense when I coached. But I don't think I was prepared. I don't. Maybe a break here or there I might have been able to help, but I worked so hard that junior to senior year, that summer, I was in phenomenal shape, and our coach was demanding. Oh my Lordy, was he ever demanding when it came to being in shape. I think I was in shape for like 5 years after my senior year of high school basketball. I mean, we could run for days, and we guard you hard. And so, but I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't, I think I was, like you said, a little bit of a late mature. I graduated early. I was 17 when I graduated. And the next year I was dunking my freshman year at Ohio State. But my senior year, Reedy, I wasn't. So
Right.
physically, I matured a little more, and I think that probably helped. I know it did.
Well, that's always a good thing. Throughout your years,
By the way, that's public. I was dunking. Okay, I wasn't dunking regularly.
is there a
On
Vine?
occasion, well, there's going to be some doubters. If this thing was live, this could get ugly.
Is there a Vine or a TikTok or something
No,
that we
there's-
can go view as a reference point?
All I can tell you is that my hands, and this is a bad finger, but anyways, my hands weren't big enough to palm the ball, so I would bounce it off the floor. It'd go up, hit the backboard. I had to time this, and I'd get above and tip it down. That was my dunk.
So DeAndre Jordan, did you just
I don't
tap
know.
it?
Yeah, I guess I just tapped. That my dunk was a tap in.
If they had the photo
I
moment,
counted
they'd
it,
see
though.
your hand.
Well, now
above the
there
ball,
was
right?
another dunk that I had when I was in the 8th grade. We had the garage, and I could catapult off the garage wall up and dunk on that. That I did have a picture of. I have no idea where it's at, but I was hanging in.
Well, you're gonna have to find that.
Yeah.
We'll get it printed on the jerseys.
That's not a pretty sight.
All right. In all of your years of coaching, and like we said, you've got a ton of experience. What is the toughest lesson that you've learned in all those years?
I mean, there's been some losses. There's been some losses that are just painful. And it's probably, I never believed when I heard older coaches, experienced coaches tell me that you're gonna get to a point where the losses stay with you longer than the wins. Everybody wants to talk about what are your greatest 5 wins, Well, I can tell you 5 of my worst losses, in a heartbeat. And so I would say that's probably, the losses mount and they wear you down.
Is there one loss that stands out above all the others?
Yes, there is. This was a team that was one of my favorite groups. And we played a style that my teams had never played before. And we had worked on this group for about 2 years. And we were in the regional finals. And with 2:30 to go, we hit a 3 to put us up by 10 at the convo. I looked up there and my mind said to me, by golly, we can win this game. And from that point on, nothing right happened. And we ended up going overtime without a turnover. They caught us. A kid who made 1 3 all year banks in one. Another guy gets fouled shooting one. It was a miracle. I mean, it was amazing what they did. But sometimes you sit there and you just, you're not meant to win.
Who were you guys playing?
Portsmouth.
Or
Piketon, I'm sorry, Kevin.
Piketon.
Yep. And they were good. Don't get me wrong. They were loaded. They were men. But we were good. And this group, they were special. They really, really enjoyed playing together. It was a lot of fun.
What year was this?
2009.
Okay, I would have still been in high school, so I graduated in 2010, so.
Okay. Yeah, we were good.
That's
Lost
awesome.
in the regional finals, won the league, split with Harvest. That was a fun team.
It sounds like it. And I'm really looking forward to the team that you build here with the Wizards. So what do you personally value more as a coach? Is it talent? Is it commitment? Is it discipline? What is it that you value?
I'll be dead honest about it. This is all new to me, dealing with guys at this age. I've really, and I told my wife before I came out here, I said, we've been going to the Kingdom League. We've made some contacts with guys over the phone, having conversations and them getting to know me a little bit. I take it for granted that if guys are playing basketball at this point in their life, they have a huge commitment. They're passionate about the game. Okay, so that I enjoy. And that's not always the case, believe it or not, that's not always the case in high school. You get guys who are playing because mommy and daddy want them to play, get out of the house, do this. My buddies are playing, so I'm gonna do this. It's not always, these guys should demand from each other as well as from themselves excellence. And I think that's something that we can demand from them. And I don't want to be like, hey, you should play hard. Well, everybody should play hard. You know, that should be the baseline of all things that happen.
Yep.
Okay, from there though, you know, how much improvement can we make? And that's going to take place. I'm going to make a ton of mistakes being a rookie at this. I mean, the 24-second, the 8-second, you name it, 3-second defensive calls, all those things are going to be different to me. I'm studying up on them, you know, as much as I can, but still, it's not going to be ingrained in me day one, because it's never, I mean, this is 37, we're fighting 43 years of, you know, the old dog and the tricks and such. But, you know, we're going to know by tryouts, by film, by other things, word of mouth, whether or not guys can play. But I think I want good people. I want good people to go to war with. And if you have good people, then, and I'm going to do, you know, and I'm going to tell them day one, I want to do whatever I can to help you prolong or to advance. I think that's our job as a coaching staff. Prolong your career or advance that career so you can move up and move to a different league or go to Europe or wherever it might be. And that's what I want. I want it to be a positive. In high school, I wanted my guys to believe it was a family experience. This, maybe some of that, but this is also, I want it to be, hey, I really enjoyed this. And I think I have to be more open to my players than I've ever been before. But again, they're adults, so I can trust them more.
Yep. At this level, I know it's a little more of a dog-eat-dog world, right? Everybody wants that next man spot. So the biggest question that everybody wants to know about you is how you would describe your coaching style. If you had one word to describe your coaching style.
One word?
What would it be?
Can I say warm and fuzzy? Passionate. I'm passionate about the game, you know, and so whatever I do, I expect that, and so I guess that would be, I could say aggressive, but I don't know if that's it. But I want my teams to be that way. I want to play with energy, and I want them to have fun. You know, I thought my building blocks at Grandview, and you know, people would ask, what are your goals this year? I want to get better. I want to play as hard as we can, and I want to have fun. Can those not work at this level?
100%.
Right. So I don't think I need to change. I think those are solid.
So at this level, you said you're a rookie. You said you're getting your feet wet.
Yeah.
How do you plan to hold a player accountable that may not be meeting the criteria that you have set?
That's good. That's a great question, because I'm trying to find that one out myself. You know, because I'm dealing with adults, and I bet you there's going to be some serious trial and error with that, and I'll make errors. If it's performance based, you know, and if I got a guy that's working his tail off, and just can't get it done, that's going to kill me. You know, because it goes back to how I felt as a player. If I have to release somebody, you know, tell you that we need to get rid of Johnny because Johnny's not getting the job done, I'm going to do it. When I made cuts at high school, I didn't believe in the list. I would bring players in. And my very first year at Grandview, I had a kid, and he started crying on me.
That'd be tough.
Jeff Bassbinder. Hello, Jeff, how are you doing? All right, I'll never forget it. Oh, it killed me. But it also, I was young and dumb, and I said, all right, I'm going to tell you this right now. You got 3 days to prove me wrong. After 3 days, if I decide to cut you, I don't even want to hear you breathe. Your butt is out of here, no questions asked. I gave you a great break here. He goes, all right. He had 3 great days of practice. I kept him, and he ended up being like our 7th man.
Wow.
He did a heck of a job. And I went up to him afterwards and said, Jeff, you know what? Good for you. Way to be an advocate for yourself. I'm not sure I use that terminology, but he was. So I could have made a huge mistake back then because, again, I know one game he pretty much single-handedly won it for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool story for him.
That's awesome. And it's a testament to you as a coach, right? Sometimes you got to teach those tough lessons. And while it sucks, it sounds like it paid off in the end for him.
I don't know what kind of testament it is to me, other than I decided to give him another chance.
And that's
he proved me wrong. And you know, and I would sit there and shake my head at practice half the time and think to myself, I almost cut this kid, you know? So I'm glad I did, but it was a heck of a lesson.
So that segues into the next question here.
Okay.
How do you balance discipline and motivation?
Well, I will tell you this. Motivation, these guys need to be. Once again, we're here because we enjoy playing the game. We're here because we want to I'm going to be as positive about things as I can be. If you're not in the same boat, trying to get better, and I cut kids because I told them your job is to get better over the summer. I don't want you, if you can't dribble with your left hand, I don't want you coming back next year without showing improvement with the left hand, or whatever the skill might have been. And I think that our level should be, there's certain expectations. You conduct yourself this way. You're going to give me what you can. I want hard work at practice. You're not getting better if you go 80%. All right? You're just not. It's not possible. And you're not helping the team by going 80%. And I plan on talking to players. And one of the things I learned, I'm not saying it was a great idea or not, but it's something I felt comfortable with. I would start every practice, go up to each player and ask them how they were doing that day. I did that pretty much about my last 5 years at Grandview. Some kids took that and ran with it, and they would express, say, Coach, things are great, or things aren't, or whatever. Some of them had, you can't control that response. Right. But you can act, you can sit there. So, hey, John, how are things going with the job? Coach, they're not. Do we need to talk? Is there anything I can do? I don't want this to be, it can't be just basketball.
Right.
And so relationships have to be developed. And it goes both ways. I've got to find how to, each person is motivated differently. I'm not sure I'm that good to figure that out, but I'm going to try.
Well, I know for us as an organization, that's something that's extremely important is player development and kind of helping these guys get to that next level. So for you, how do you plan to build that trust within the locker room? I know you said you want to get to know these individuals. Obviously, they are adults, so the conversations will be vastly different, I would assume, than in high school. So how do you plan to build that trust with them and let them know that you kind of got their back?
Well, I will never say anything bad about them outside of the locker room. Okay? I've never done. My very first year at Grandview, I had the opportunity. We lost the district semis, and a kid who was my leading scorer had a horrendous day. And the CJ or the dispatch or whatever said, hey, such and such, what do you think, Coach? He didn't have a very good game for you today. And I go, guys, if you think I'm going to throw that young man under the bus because he didn't play well, I said, that's not fair. I said, he's a young man who gave us everything he could. All year long, he's been good. He wasn't today, but that's just the way life is. And it's not fair for me to go down on him, get after him right now. So I'm not going to do that. And I don't want to do that with these guys. I think they need to know that I will have their backs. And I've got to prove that. That's part of my job, to prove to them when somebody goes 3 of 15 that, next game, you better be taking that shot, or now you're sitting next to me. Because I'm not going to sit there. If I've got faith in you, then you have to go out there and at least attempt it. So that's how I try to coach. It truly is.
So you spent all this time at the high school ranks, right?
Uh-huh.
Then you said, I'm retiring, I'm done, I'm walking away from the game.
I did.
So what kind of led you here to being a part of the Columbus Wizards?
I got a phone call from Randy.
That's a good start.
It's a start. And the quote was, hey, Coach Corbett, have you ever heard of the Wizards? And, being from Central Ohio and being 67 years old and knowing everything about Columbus, Ohio, Central Ohio basketball, I said no. And so then I was educated about the Wizards. And the term I think I've used to describe the experience so far is, and what I love is, I'm intrigued. Everything about this. You guys are the most positive people that you could ask for. You guys have energy. You're as positive about this whole thing happening. And I just shake my head half the time saying, I don't know if you guys have a clue to what we're about ready to do here, but you're doing it with a smile and you're doing it with passion, so let's do it.
It has certainly been a journey. We've learned a lot of tough lessons along the way. Spending the last 2 years kind of in the American Basketball Association, running through some of the teams that we did, learning all the lessons there. Sit back watching all that we've seen in the TBL and knowing kind of what's in store.
Well, you're more than welcome to educate me on what's in store.
At this level, guys are just hungry. I think that's the biggest thing that I think is it's vastly different in the minor leagues than you would see in the pro level. Because in the pro level, those guys have been recruited since high school. So they've always had the attention, the publicity,
right,
whatever it is. A lot of these guys in the minor leagues, they get some publicity from the minor leagues, but they were never 5-star recruits. They were never sought after by big colleges. Some of them are. You'll find some Division I talent in there, but a lot of these guys are just hungry for that next opportunity. And I think that's what kind of sets this apart from kind of where we were before. And it's treated much more as a business, which is better for the players because it's setting them up for success. If they go from here in America playing in a league like the TBL to overseas, if the culture and standard is right within that organization, it'll be a breeze for them going overseas. Versus if they're just playing for some run-of-the-mill rec team here and they think they're getting better, they go over to an overseas experience and it's vastly different than what they're expecting, and then they're sent home. Well, then it just becomes a big ordeal.
I mean, and again, looking at expectations, I think we have certain expectations we need to maintain, conducting themselves the right way, working hard, execution, a little, yeah. But again, I think great teams have great players in terms of characters, and there's maybe some leadership that we look for along the way. And I know we've talked to some players who are a little more experienced, who have bought in and know what it takes to be successful at this level. And that's nice to have. If we can have that kind of blend where you have a couple, again, I didn't see a 8-year gap in high school. Some of these guys may have taken 8 years to graduate from high school. But anyway, we didn't have that kind of gap in high school. Whereas, I mean, I remember, you ask about the locker room. I had a group, and I was just frustrated as could be with this group. And we had the varsity room, and the door was unlocked and open, and I walked by it. And this was like I had just nailed it in practice. I went at him hard. And this young man, who was a junior at the time, a big-time soccer kid, all right? But he played basketball, but he also was a big-time soccer guy. He goes, "You guys know Corbett's right." And he stood up for me. And I walked into the coach's office after that, and I said, "Guys, you're not even going to believe what I just heard." And I told them that, and I said, "Okay, I'm just thoroughly impressed by what this boy said." He became the leader that we needed, and that team took off. And that's what it's about. We can only do so much as coaches. The players, it's their team.
Correct.
And if they're going to be saying things about me, hey, most of the players you coach are going to say things. If not, I'm not doing much.
Yep.
Right. So that doesn't bother me much. But do they play hard? Do they respect the process and such? I got to be honest with them. You asked about how I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to be as honest with these guys as I can possibly be. If that means bringing them into the office and say, "Hey, this is what we expect. We're not getting it. What's going on? Is there something I need to know? Something happening out there that's impacting you here?" that's, for us to sit here and think that they're going to walk in here and they live in Mayberry RFD, and they're going to be, it's going to be this great little life there. And this is a group of guys that live that style. So I think that they need a soundboard, somebody to talk to on occasion.
And I really like that because we as an organization, we've kind of given you full autonomy to be in control of the roster.
Which is scary.
I'm sure it is scary, but it's nice for us because we can kind of stand back and watch you evaluate the talent, kind of let the basketball happen organically. You're coming in with the resume, you're coming in with the background. We know
is that what you guys are doing now?
We know that.
Is that what you're doing?
We know that you're going to evaluate the talent appropriately, and you're going to get the best guys that put us in a position to be successful. And so, for you personally, what is your vision for the kind of the team long term? Not just to win a few games, but what are you kind of hoping to build here?
Well, again, I think we need to have something that people feel good about watching. That there's a certain amount of pride being part of this program. And I take it upon myself as being, like you said, I walked away from the game and I'm walking back into the game and I'm walking into it eyes wide open to a certain extent. And I put a lot of time. And Randy and I, when we were talking earlier, I said to him, when I decide to coach, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. This is an all-year commitment. And my daughter, who coaches at Kenyon, she's tired of already talking to me because I'm calling her up, Samara, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? And I'm sending her little clips, little emails and such that I get. And, so I'll be very serious about this. I'm not expecting everybody to be on my plateau, be on the same level I am in terms of how serious I am, but I didn't come back here not to be, I want to be competitive, and I want to be something that people can say, hey, you know what, this is a good program, and they do things the right way, and enjoy coming to watch us play, because that guy dove on the floor, and that guy did this, and I love those type of examples, but that's what we're about. We play hard, and I want the extra effort.
So for you, you've been in this role for a little bit of time now. Of course, we've kept it pretty secret. But as you kind of continue to get your feet underneath you, we have tryouts coming up here in a couple weeks. In your first 100 days here, getting everything established, what are kind of your goals? What do you want to kind of get underneath you within your first 100 days here?
Well, like you said, we've got the tryouts. Coaching staff, that needs to be ironed out. Okay, so, and there's some things happening in that area, and we're going to see what happens there. But I feel pretty comfortable that in the next few weeks we're going to have that taken care of. And then a roster. When you say I'm building a roster, right now I'm not building much. So we're having a tryout, and there's no guarantee. But I want to be able to sit there and say, okay, there's 5 or 6 guys after this first one. Hopefully, we're going to be able to say we got 5 or 6 guys that we feel like, okay, this is our base. Now, can we find anything? Is there anything better than that out there that we can plug in and go from there? And how the economics works, I don't know. And that's another thing that just blows me away. And the cooperation that we're going to have to get everybody going in the same direction in terms of our roster. And then what we're going to do this winter, fall, winter, whatever, and try to establish that, get everything ironed out there. We need a practice facility, and I know we're working hard on that one right there. And so, I've been to 3 or 4 different facilities looking for places and making some inquiries into that. So after we do that, I might actually start exiting. I'm exiting knowing right now, but how do you handle ball screens? There's about 50 ways to handle different types of ball screens out there. And are we going to do this? Are we going to run a 2-sided transition? Are we going to run this type of transition? What are our quick hitters? Our baseline out of bounds? What are specials? Things of that nature. There's a lot of stuff.
So I know you've been doing some research with the other teams in our division here in the TBL. Is there any one team to you so far that's kind of stood out?
Well, St. Louis has been, I've seen them a few times. They're pretty solid, you know, and they've got nice depth. But you know, I'd say St. Louis, they sit down, they guard you. You know, it's interesting, I heard that they guard you really physical, that they're real. In the games I've watched, I didn't think it was that terribly physical. I'm not saying our high school games, you know, maybe 20 years ago our high school games were that physical, but, you know, they do guard, you know, and I think that my take on things at this point, and it's almost the same as any other level you coach, teams that guard keep you to one shot, okay? Take away maybe 2 or 3 things that you like to do, they have a chance to win every night. Okay, as simple as that. Take care of the ball. I mean, basketball's basketball. I don't care what level you're playing. So the question is, can we do those things? You know, and are we going to be intelligent enough? Because defense is not just effort. Everyone's like, oh, they play hard. Well, you have to have a little bit of a basketball IQ to be a good defender. We've got to have that. As a team, we have to recognize things. Actions that other teams do over and over and over, and we have to try to take those away. You know, I read something years ago, 4 things. 4 things, take 4 things away from your opponent. Can you take 4 things away? So now their best option, the best set that they run might be their 5th best option. You know, can you do that? So, out of bounds plays. Everybody has baseline OBs. Can you guard their top 4 out of bounds plays? You know, are you scoring? Do you win the special teams? You know, those are the types of things that I want to make sure our guys have a chance to do.
I'm looking forward to seeing the basketball action happen here. Like that's what I'm genuinely excited about for the upcoming season. Just seeing how guys kind of gel together, and really how we perform on the court. But outside of that, I'm really looking to see how these guys make an impact in the community. So for you as a coach, as someone that's stepping into the professional level, how important do you feel it is to be connected to the community?
Well, I mean, I think that when I hear, you know, when the commissioner of the league comes in and talks about our presence in the community and how he stressed the importance of that, I took that to mean that's pretty big for our program. And, you know, we look at other programs around why they are not around anymore. You know, there was a team last year that played 1 game and they were done. And I'm not sure if this is accurate or not, but one of you guys commented that they didn't do what they need to do in the community. So our presence, and we did some stuff like that at Grandview. We helped out. We, you know, Ronald McDonald's house, things like that, we did. And I think for our players who have seen this maybe up close and personal, us being able to get into those areas and help might give them a lot of growth and a lot of satisfaction as well. So us being involved as an organization is key, but for them, I know this, that the biggest idiots I coached when I was at Grandview, when we would prepare breakfast at Ronald McDonald's house, they were the best kids I had there. You know, they got the most out of it. The other guys were sleepy, blah, 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 you know, because you had to be there at like 6 in the morning, you know, but these so-called idiots, they are all into it. You know, they're sitting there flipping pancakes, doing this and cleaning and talking, and they were in their realm. And I just put that in the memory banks, and I said, you know, that was really cool. That was great. And I talked to their moms or dads or whatever and say, hey, I just want you to know your boy had a good day. And so I think that would be true with the players we have. Again, we're looking for character.
I think at this level, you're still going to see players with their families, except it may not just be mom and dad. It may be girlfriends, wives, kids. Right. So you're still going to have that family interaction. I just think it'll be a little more mature and a step higher than maybe we may have seen at the high school level. So I'm a brand new fan. I've never been to a Wizards game, or I'm a fan that's been to a Wizards game before.
You ever been to a Grandview game?
I have been to a Grandview.
All right. Go
So
Cats.
if I've been to a Wizards game, I'm coming to a new experience with the Wizards jumping into the TBL. What can I expect to see with a Coach Corbett-led basketball team?
Well, again, I go back to just the basics. We're going to go at it. We're getting at it. We're going to play hard. We're going to defend you. We'll hopefully keep you to one. I want to push it. Everything that I'm looking at right now, and again, 24-second clock's a new world to me. I don't want to use the 24-second clock. I don't want to even think about the 24-second clock, because when I watch NBA, all I see is a one-up screen at the end of the 24-second clock. When I watch college basketball, all I see is sloppy motion to one up. So everything I'm looking at right now, when you think about, or you ask me about how I want to put this team together, I want guys who want to go, and they want to be in shape. And if I had my preference, if you gave me dream team number one, we'd be 9 deep, and we'd go wall to wall from the beginning of the game to the end. And then if we played on Thursday, we'd come back Friday, and I would just walk through, shoot a little bit. Saturday, guys, guess what? We're going wall to wall, and we're going to trap you. We're going to push it and go. And I know, well, you can't do that at this level. Okay, we'll see. But again, we'll see. We got to have that depth. You can't do that. I did it with that 09 squad. We pressed from the time you got off the bus, and it wasn't like we had the greatest athletes, but our philosophy was our best 5 might not be better than your best 5, but my best 9 will be better than your best 9. So we're going to get you. We're going to get you. By the time we get in the fourth quarter, we're used to this. Are you?
I love it. I'm so excited. So for you, as your rookie season as a professional coach, right?
Right.
What does success look for you beyond the wins and losses?
Butts in the seats. We got to get people to come watch our product, And I think if we play a style that's fun to watch, exciting, and we're successful, I have no idea what winning, what our line's going to be, what you guys consider to be successful. I don't. I'm going with the same theory that I've always gone. Are we better today than we were 3 months ago? And if we are, that's a success. It may not be the success that everybody wants, because maybe we didn't win enough games, or we didn't make the playoffs, or whatever. But improvement to me means we were engaged all year long. I had a team at Grandview one year. It was after we had won 18. The next year, I told my principal, and he thought I was, sure. I told him, we're terrible. We are so bad. We went out to Jonathan Alder at halftime. We're down 25, and he's sitting 2 rows behind me. And I go, Joe, you believe me yet? Well, Jonathan Alder came to our place 2 months later, and we beat him. You want to talk about one of the best wins of my career? That was one of the best wins of my career. It's not winning a district, even though those are good, but that group developed and we got to average. That group got to average. And that was as good as that group could get. We peaked out at average that season. And our practices were great. They came to work every day. They were so much fun. So, I think that's the way. I know that in this business, because it is a business, so we need to have people come through the games, or come to the games. We need to win games, all those things. I don't know how that's going to convert to my beliefs. Getting better, playing harder, getting after it like that.
So we've had a couple questions come through on social media, and the first one is, what's the most overlooked aspect of coaching?
People don't understand, and again, it's not their fault. There's no guarantee that the team you have will peak. And some people think, hey, you need to peak at the end of the season so you're playing your best when the tournament comes. You're peaking whenever you're peaking. You want to peak at that time, but I had teams that peaked game 1. We came out of the gate 7-0 and ended up 11-11. So you talk about an interesting season. You wonder why can't we do what we did before? Well, we don't have the confidence or whatever it might be. So, it is it takes so much time, at least in my opinion, to find what works offensively as well as what works defensively, and then to mesh that together with a group of guys who don't know each other. That's the difference between high school and this. High school kids knew each other from day one. You know, I've been playing with John since I was in the 3rd grade. We go to his backyard and shoot all the time. That's not going to be the case here, you know? And so that's why finding the right type of person and such is going to be important so that we can bend a little bit, manipulate.
I think the biggest lesson that guys have to learn at this level, and it's going to be a huge culture shock, especially here in Columbus, with us being the Columbus Wizards and our rebranding and kind of how we're revamping ourselves and really setting a culture and expectation as an organization. And I think you as the head coach, you fit the bill perfectly. You have the same standards and you have the same culture that you want to build as what we expect as an organization. And so the biggest question that these guys are asking on social media is, what is it that you're going to be looking for at tryouts? How does someone make the Columbus Wizards and earn a roster spot to play in the TBL next year?
Well, again, I'm going to look at somebody who's coming in here and getting after it. I've been going to the Kingdom League, and there were a couple guys there that, first of all, the talent there is, it's a hidden, talk about a hidden gem.
Yes.
Ooh, there's some people, and they can flat out get it done. And but there's some guys that when you look at them, you're like, okay, I like this guy. Okay, why do I like him? Well, he looks like he's got a smile on his face. He's having fun. He's playing hard. He'll compete. He's not afraid to defend you. He's not afraid to take a shot when it's important. He picks up his players around him. Those things you see, you know. What did Urban say? Want an energy giver or energy taker? And he never wants his locker room to be full of the takers. He wants guys who give energy. I thought that was a great statement. I really did, and you could see it. So that stands out to me. You can't have too many of those guys. They're the guys you go to war with and have fun. So
there's one of the most overlooked things about the game that I think doesn't get talked about, and that's communication. So for you as a coach, how important is communication for you on the floor?
Well, I mean, I think it's huge. I mean, everything we do. I mean, now you want to get to the basics. You can't guard as a group without communication. And that's why coaches constantly are working on it, offensively as well as defensively. So guys who, again, I'll go back to the Kingdom League. There was a young man out there, the first game I watched him, he was chirping the store. Drove me nuts how much he was talking. Some of it might have been a tad inappropriate in my mind. Game 2, he didn't speak hardly at all. And I went down to talk to him about it, and he said, Coach, I knew this coach the first game, and I was having some fun with him. And I was like, good, I like that. I said, I'm glad you did that. He goes, but you have to talk. You have to talk, and I'm a talker. And so that type of communication on the floor is one thing. Then there's that communication. Can they talk to you? Are you approachable? That kind of, as a coach to a player, that's going to take some time. I will say this. I've talked to a couple guys. Every time I talk to somebody, before I call them, I look up their stats and what they did. And every one of them's appreciated. Coach, I appreciate the fact you did that. That's pretty special. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't you do that? Again, I'm a rookie here, but why wouldn't you do something that simple that you're looking at a kid and you're looking at his college stats or his stats in Europe or whatever, so you have an idea of what you're walking into. It makes no sense to me. So.
Well, I think, again, it goes back to kind of the different levels here within the minor leagues. And so I think there are some organizations like ourselves that truly take it serious from a business standpoint, and we want to know who's coming into play for us. We want to know where you're from, where you went to school. The league even goes as far as background checks. There's some leniency there. There's some leeway. At the end of the day, we're all adults. We're all grown, and we understand people make mistakes. So if you're someone that's got a weak charge when you're 18, we can overlook things like that. But the biggest thing is there are some teams out there that don't take the pride to get to know their athletes. And so I think for guys that you're reaching out to and connecting with, that's why it's special, because it shows that you're really taking the time to invest in them.
I mean, but if we're going to bring them in, don't we want to know that?
100% we
Right.
do.
I mean, it just seems simple to me.
Me personally, it sounds a little arrogant, it sounds a little cocky, but I like to think that we're kind of resetting the standard for professional basketball at this level in terms of what
Yes,
we're
you
expecting.
did sound a little arrogant.
And you know what? I feel like we, as long as we hold true to our values and we keep that level of integrity, I think there's nothing wrong with saying that.
Okay.
So for you, when you think about the season ahead, right? First year professional coach, what is it that keeps you up at night?
First year professional coach. You just said it.
Are there anything that
I mean, there's going to be guys there that have been doing this for a while, you know. I mean, I've been doing a totally different world. And so, until proven wrong, I would expect that if I watch 2 or 3 of your games, I'm going to have a clue to what you do and whether or not you're maybe a great X and O coach, or maybe you just let your players go because they're that way. They're that talented. And maybe you're a very good coach because that's what you do, you know?
Yep.
So everybody's going to be different in the way they handle their players and their program. But it can be a little intimidating when I sit back and think about it. And again, having a huge roster that we have at this point, you know, not having a clue to what I'm going to war with makes things, that certainly, I don't sleep much anyways, but that helps keep me up.
Well, I can tell you what keeps me up at night is the fact that the last 2 years in our existence as the Columbus Wizards, we've had tremendous teams for the league that we were playing in. I felt like we had a ton of talent, but as the old saying goes, what happens when talent's not enough? That happened several times to us as a team. And so as we venture into this next step, I'm really looking forward to how your lessons, the things that you implement in practice and in our games, really transcend when those moments really happen.
Wow, thanks.
Hey, I'm giving you all the faith here.
Gave me something else to stay up with.
I'm giving you all the faith.
I'm not sleeping tonight.
Well, I'll hold you to it. So lastly here, this is the biggest question of all. How does it feel for you knowing that your name will be tied to this city and to this team?
I'm not going to take it that way. I truly, I look at coaching, and again, I love it to death, okay? I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't. But to sit there and say, hey, you're here or there just because you're a coach, I'm going to go out there and do what I do. And if by chance we're fortunate enough that things work in the right direction, when it's all said and done, it'll take care of itself. You know, I'm very happy to be part of it. You know, and again, I've said this a lot, a number of times. You guys have impressed me with your being as positive and energetic and such. I like basketball. I like talking to people that enjoy talking basketball. I'm not very good at that other group, you know. And so having an opportunity to do this is a pretty cool opportunity.
Well, I can tell you we're certainly excited to have you. It's been a long process. We finally have made it to the TBL, and we're really looking forward to putting our stamp again on minor league basketball.
So was I.